We've made it into February. This year, it feels like it's going pretty quickly already. It feels like just yesterday it was New Year, wasn't it? And already we've made it to February. January is in the books. I had a fun January, to be honest with you. I've had a decent week of gigs. I like talking about my gigs at the start of each episode, so let's do it, shall we? So last week, I think it was Thursday, I was in Salford, and I was literally round the corner from my old college where I went to, Pendleton College in Salford. And like travelling down there, it was really like a trip down memory lane. And I'm a very nostalgic person in general. So being able to do that, travel down there, go through those experiences, and like my memories of starting college as a 16-year-old, travelling down there, all those thoughts you've got through there, how you feel as a person at the time, and now being able to look back decades later at how I feel now as an adult, you see how far you've come in life. And I made a nice little joke about it online afterwards, but it is true. It's completely true, and I love it. And I love my old college friends as well. I remember messaging a few of them afterwards and talking to them, and that was fun. And then randomly, I bumped into a lad called Dan that I went to college with, and I've not seen him since we were 18. So we're talking almost 20 years ago now. And I was about to go into Morrison's in Bolton, and he's looking at me, and I'm like looking over, like, is this guy looking at me? Is he about to, like, is he like, because he weren't looking like aggressively, but I'm like, is he about to say like something like hello or whatever? And he's like, you all right? And he's like, I'm like, yeah, you all right? And I could tell the way he's saying you all right, he knows me. So I'm thinking, okay, who is this? And I'm looking at him, I'm trying to figure out who is this, and it was really embarrassing for me. I had to be like, sorry mate, like, I don't recognise you. He told me who he was, and I was like, oh my God. Because I'd not seen him in so long. I felt so embarrassed that I had to be like, don't recognise you, mate. But that wasn't the vibe whatsoever. My vibe was completely just like, I'm really sorry, but I think you understood, because it has been almost 20 years that, you know, it's hard to recognise people in person. But yeah, it was so nice to see him. And he's someone who, I'll be honest, like I say, I've not seen him since I was 18. He's been very supportive of me in stand-up. He's always like putting likes on my stuff here and there. And I think he sent me a few videos of people that he likes here and there, people that I've gigged with in the past. So it was really lovely to see him. Anyway, that gig in Salford on Thursday night was an interesting one. And it's a kind of gig that happens a lot. And it's hard to explain, but it's basically when somebody runs their first show, but it's someone who is like quite popular, at least in their local community. Now you could tell that not just he was popular in his community, but loads of people really like him. So it was run by this lad called Kieran the Seddon. He's quite a new comic on the scene. I think I talked about him a little bit in my last podcast when I was building up for this show. But what happens is when you're quite popular in your local scene and people like you, when you do run your first gig, loads of people will come to it because they want to support you, they like you, and they want to support what you're doing. They also want to check out what you're doing as well. They've got that, even the ones who like maybe like backbite behind your back or whatever, they want to come and see like, what's he like, and we'll see if he's funny. So anyway, Kim was running his first gig. He did a good job, I'm telling you, he did a good job of it. It's hard running a gig, and he's put it in it's quite a big place for someone to run their first gig as well. And he sold a very good amount of tickets, I'll be honest. He did a very good job with that side of things. And again, it's a testament to how much people like him in the area, because people in general, even if they like you, they probably won't take a punt on coming to pay money to see you on a Thursday night. So it's hard to do that. So kudos to him. He was hosting the show. I got there while he was like, just, you know, warming the crowd up at the start of the show, just as my timing was just to get there. So he'd kind of not just come on stage, but he was in the first section still. Liam Alexander opened up. I've known Liam now for maybe about a year or two. Liam's a nice lad too. And then we went to the middle section. Was there one or two acts in the middle section? I can't remember. I think there's maybe just one act in the middle section. A lad called Scott. Never met him before, but again, seemed like a nice chap. And then I was closing the show. So when you're closing, typically, it's easier from one standpoint because the crowd are warm. They're as warm as they're going to get, but sometimes that can tip over to a little bit too drunk because they've been there all night and they've had a few drinks or whatever. Luckily, this was a Thursday night, so Thursday, you don't really get that same vibe because that's a weekend thing for the end of the night and to be really rowdy. Thursday, the end of the night, really lovely. Everyone's properly warmed up. They know what they're getting into. Kieran's been at the start of every section. They're getting to see the guy who they've paid to see. And at the same time, he's the one introducing the acts to you. So it brings this element of, listen, I'm going to perform for you. You're going to get to see that. But at the same time, you know that my name's on the poster. You know that I'm booking this night. I'm in control. I'm bringing these people because I think you'll like them. Please don't be a knobhead. That's what it brings. And fair play to them. Couple people a little bit chatty in the back corner. Not going to lie to you. Back corner over that side over there. Right hand side if you're looking as an act. A little bit chatty there. But when I was on stage, I couldn't really hear them. When I walked in the door, it sounded like they were really loud. So maybe they were really loud at the start and then they tailed off to the end. I know that he had a go at them. Well, I say had a go at one point. Let them know that you can't talk in a comedy night, because some people don't know how comedy works. See, that's one weird thing about comedy crowds, is sometimes you get people in the audience who don't know how it works. They think, oh yeah, I can just chat with my mates like I'm down the pub, and it's fine, and when I want to listen, I can listen, and it's fine. But what happens is when you're talking, it's interrupting everyone else listening to it, and comedy's the kind of thing where really, you want to boil down your jokes to the point where everything that you say is relevant to build up to the punchline. So if you miss anything, either not going to understand the punchline as much, or it's not going to be as strong, and you're not going to get a bigger laugh out of it. So anyone talking really takes away from that. But like I say, only a couple, they were in the back corner. I couldn't hear them when I was on stage, so maybe most of the audience couldn't hear them either. But I was trying to pick out, like, are they talking, are they not talking? And then I could hear them, and then I couldn't. It was a difficult one in terms of hearing that, but that's a good thing about being so far away from the back for me. But a bad thing for them, because they were so far away from that. They should have sat closer to the stage. But you get that sometimes as well. Kieran had laid out the seats very well. They were all laid out, theatre style, in rows, all facing the right way. Where did they sit, these ones in the back? They sat right on the back, on the benches in the back. They decided, oh, I know what, I'm not going to sit in the seats that he's very kindly sat out for me. I'm going to just sit in the back because this is more comfortable. Well, guess what? Now you're further away from the stage. Now you've ended up talking partway through the show. And even though you might tell us that you enjoyed it as much as everyone else, you definitely didn't, because you didn't hear it as much because you were talking through it. That's how it works, right? Anyway, that's a bit of a moan at those people in the back. But listen, it happens. They probably meant well. They probably, like I say, afterwards told Kieran how much they really enjoyed it. And I guess for some people, that's an enjoyable thing to do, is go out, have a chat with your mates, and they think it's all right. So again, it's hard as an artiste, as a performer. You might want to have a go at certain people, but maybe I should just be like, listen, they had a good time. They paid their money just like anybody else, and you'll get them paid the same either way. So either way, it doesn't matter. And overall, I will say it was a good night. Loads of people, loads of good feedback, saying how much they enjoyed it and stuff like that. So again, full credit to Kieran putting on your first one, because even that thing of people coming to support you because they like you, you've still got to put on a good show. He could have gone on there and they could have been like, bloody hell, I've seen Kieran as a comedian, but I'm not liking this. But that didn't happen. They enjoyed what he was doing. They enjoyed who he brought on, who he booked, and that kind of thing. Oh, Louis Morrison was in the middle as well. Apologies, Louis. I completely forgot. Yeah, I knew there was two in the middle. I don't know why that slipped my mind. Yeah, Louis Morrison was in the middle as well. You'll be hearing me talk about him later on in the month. I've got a couple gigs, I think, this month for him. So I'll be talking about him probably more in detail as we get further on in the month. And yeah, I went on, had a fun time, I'll be honest with you. He had a photographer down there, and it was one of those where, like, it was an easy gig. So I was trying to purposely pose for the photographer and give her, like, action shots where I'm, like, putting my body, like, in line with her so she can get, like, a really good shot. So it was nice to be able to control the crowd easily enough that I wasn't really focusing too much on the crowd in some little segments of the show where I could be like, okay, I know where the photographer is. Let's give her a good view. Let's try and get some good pictures out of it, which is the... I guess that's the ego a little bit of the stand-up. It's a bit of an ego of the stand-up, but it's also a little bit of like, okay, she's trying to get a good picture, give her a good picture as well. So I guess that's one side of the coin. But yeah, it is an ego thing. You want good pictures. But I'll be honest, with this beard at the moment, this is a short-term beard. It won't be here forever. So those pictures, although I like to have them and like to have them at least short-term, I can't use them in terms of long-term stuff because people like, I'll turn up and like look nothing like this in the future because there'll be no beard, will there? But yeah, fun gig. That was the Thursday gig. Then I had a couple of nights off, and then Saturday was the Royal Rumble, right? Saturday, and let's talk about the Royal Rumble. You might not be a fan of wrestling. I'm going to quickly breeze over it, but basically, It was alright. I kind of enjoyed it, kind of didn't. I love it when it's a surprise. It wasn't a surprise because people were talking about who they think were going to win, and everyone was suggesting the same people and over again. And I thought, okay, brilliant. Maybe they've obviously been hinting to this strongly on TV, or maybe there's been like loads of hints online with people talking about all the backstage politics. And I was like, this is annoying that everyone's predicting these two people and then they've won it. That's really, really annoying. Anyway, that's wrestling. That's wrestling for you. Anyway, second gig, Sunday night, Birchwood in Warrington. And I've never really been to Warrington before. And shall I be honest? Yeah, I should be honest because that's what this podcast is about. And that's what the whole point of me doing this is so I can talk in long form and talk openly. I was sat in the back of the show and I was a little bit wary of the audience because they were a little bit older, and I thought, maybe me talking about my ethnic background might not go too well tonight, and that's what I planned on talking about. But face it up, Adam. Face it up, get on that stage and just do it. And I will tell you now, they were really, really lovely. Never judge a book by its cover. They were absolutely brilliant. So this gig was run by Adam Rushton. Adam Rushton has his own comedy agency, A Rush of Laughter, and he hosted the show. Now, I've known of him since I started stand-up because some of my mates from uni are like real-life friends of his from outside of comedy. And I think when I started, one of them was like, oh, you should check out this person. He runs comedy shows and stuff like that. But at the time, when you first start, I wasn't at a level where I could really get gigs from him. So I never approached him. And then I ended up getting a gig from him like when I was about a year and a half in, which was kind of about the right time to like try and get gigs from him at the start of that process. I think it was an unpaid or maybe a 10 or 20 quid, that kind of thing. It wasn't like a massive fee kind of gig. And then now, 6 years later, I've got that second gig out of him, which to be fair, the first one went okay, didn't go great to be honest with you. So yeah, then I got on his onto this one with him. So that was that. Alex Boardman opened the show. I really like Alex Boardman. Alex Boardman's been a pro for decades now. And I really get along with him, to be honest with you. And he's one of the only pro comedians who... I think I mentioned this before. He's the only pro comedian who's ever driven me to a gig. Like, usually if I go to a gig, it's someone who's on my level or maybe, you know, someone newer. But Alex is the only pro comedian who's ever done that for me. And it's someone that I do really like, and I feel like I do have a good relationship with. And some of the stories, let me tell you, some of the stories he was telling me, I'm not going to tell you on air, but yeah, some of the stories he was telling me about the old days of doing stand-up when he was in his younger days and he was just starting out and he was a younger pro comic. Very interesting stories. I definitely enjoyed chatting with him and catching up with him before the show because I don't get to see him that much, to be honest with you. We're in a position where we're going for different spots on the show because he's been a pro for many years, and I'm looking to break into the spots that he's doing. But often I'm getting like the middle spot, like I did on this night. He's opening the gig, so we can both be on the same lineups. But I know he does a lot of like what they call yachts, what they call big boats. I don't know. What are those boats called? Where you cruises. He does cruises. That's what he does. Yeah. Anyway, so a great catching up with him. I went on stage. Really enjoyed myself. Crowd were really hot. I really had a fun time on stage, and hopefully it leads to more work going forward. Because that's the big thing: is you always want your work not just to be good on the night, but for it to be good enough to get repeat business going forward and for more people to want to book you. And to be fair, the guy who worked at the pub came up to him and went, we'd have you back any day, mate. So I thought, you know what? That's really good. That's really good that you're getting the people from there. And anytime you get that, that's amazing. Like the gig that I run in Hindley with Roxanne, she will quite often say that to some of the performers, going, oh my God, we loved you so much. We'd love to have you back in the future. She will always hype up the people that she really enjoys. And she's a real comedy fan, so it's really good having that business relationship with somebody like that you can do that. And I'm back gigging tomorrow, Thursday again. I'm doing a lot of like Thursday and weekend gigs at the moment, which is kind of what you want to do. That's what like where you want to get to as a stand-up comedian. But you want to be like closing all these shows. At the moment, I'm not closing all of these shows. Obviously, I closed one last week, and then I was in the middle in one. This one tomorrow is a new material kind of night. So it's like these work on like a bucket split payment. So people put money in the bucket at the end of the gig. They pay what they feel it was worth at the end, and then you'll see what your pay is afterwards. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll take that. I could do with working out some new material. And then guess what? I've not really written anything properly in weeks. I've written like the odd thing here and there, but I don't really have 10 minutes worth of new stuff to try. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all my old notes in the next 24 hours, compile a little list of stuff that I do want to try tomorrow night, and then probably just do like one joke that's solid and already crafted, and then one new one solid, one new one solid one, and do that back and forth basically, and use my time like that, because I don't like turning up to like these kind of new material nights, and then you just turn up and just do your best 10 minutes, and everyone's looking at it. Well, the other acts are looking at you like, yeah, that's the same jokes you do all the time, mate. This is new material. Why have you not got anything else? But then again, maybe I should just do that and solid it in. I don't know. I'll make my decision, but I'm opening that, which is nice. Get on there, opening. Opening's always hard. They're not warmed up properly yet. MC will do a good job, I'm sure. Charlie Lewis, like Charlie a lot. We've been friends for a couple of years now. He's booked me for this gig many times. Really appreciate him. Like I say, he's a top lad. And he's going to do what he can do at the start of the show, but you can only do so much when you're the host. You can only warm up to a certain level. Some MCs are absolutely amazing, the ones who've been doing it for like 4 decades, and they'll just whip them up into a wild storm, and you go on there and you can storm it. But it's really tough opening in comparison. I think it's the hardest gig, to be honest with you. It's the hardest thing to do. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. So I like that. I like being able to open, because I want to eventually like transition from these middle spots to opening more and more of the pro gigs. And closing gigs is fantastic, and sometimes it can be a lot easier, but opening them, that cold crowd, you've got to bring that kind of energy to really get people into it. And it's something that hopefully I can work more and more on going forward, and it has been a target of mine for a while now to do that. Anyway, is that too much minutia of stand-up? You lot are going to have to let me know. Do you want me to talk more about stand-up, less about stand-up? Are you a more experienced actor than me, and you're looking going, Adam, you don't know what you're talking about. You've only been doing comedy about 7 years. You do not know what you're talking about. Shut up. I mean, that might be the case as well, but I can only talk about it from my own experiences, right, and what I've experienced now. I'm sure I'll look back on it in about 2-3 years and go, I didn't have a clue what I was talking about. I thought I knew it all, but I didn't know nothing of that. To be fair, that is one thing that I do know. I know that I don't know it all, and I know that I do need to gig more and more and more. And on lineups with stronger and stronger acts, you can experience in them get into certain situations and go, okay, how'd you get out of this situation? What's happened here? What's happened there? How'd you manoeuvre through this? Anyway, like I say, that's probably enough of stand-up for now. Football's been hotting up. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about football. I won't talk about football whatsoever, actually, because I know it's boring for people who don't watch football. So, this is one thing. I feel like I'm getting older now because I don't like music anymore. I don't know if this is a thing that you guys have experienced. I remember, my oldest brother's 15 years older than me, and I remember being in uni and talking, because my brother was into music, but when I was a kid. So when I was a kid, about 5 or 10 or whatever, my brother would be into music, and he had like LPs of like Carter USM, San Etienne. He had the San Etienne on tape, and that the one with the Chicken Soup song on it. He had Definitely Maybe on vinyl. He had Smiths and Oasis and Stone Roses on tape. He had all these, like James. He had the single for Sit Down, where the B-side is the live version from the G-Mix. I remember he had all these when I was a kid, and he was massive into his music. But that's all like early 90s music, right? And then when I was in uni in like the late 2000s, I remember talking to him about music, and he didn't know who any of the people were. So I remember making like mixed tapes for him and like mixed CDs for him, like there you go, like giving to him when he was over at Christmas and stuff like that. And then after a while I realised like, oh, he's just completely out of music. And I thought, I guess it's just a thing that when you get old, you just don't really listen to music anymore. So I thought, okay, when that day comes that I don't really know new music anymore, I guess that's me old. I guess that's me. And over the last probably 2, maybe 3 years, I've really started to feel that. Maybe that's the wrong metric to if you feel old or not. I mean, I try and dress young. I'm wearing like this like light mint hoodie right now. I've got a backwards cap on. I've got a long beard though, so that's maybe a bit old. But either way, yeah, I feel like I'm losing myself because I don't. And I used to be massively into music. I used to go to music festivals. Like I went every year for like 3, 4 years on the bounce, going to Tea in the Park, Leeds, and Tea in the Park again. I think that was the only 3 that I went to actually. I went to see Oasis at Heaton Park. I saw the Stone Roses at Heaton Park, and then at the Etihad. I've been to all kinds of gigs through the years, and I used to love it. I used to properly love it. It used to be one of my favorite things to do, and something that I could really look forward to in the calendar, being like, oh my god, such and such a date, I'm going to see such and such a band. I think part of the reason why I stopped going to gigs and stuff, like as a viewer of like live bands, was once I got into stand up, I didn't want to block out dates in the calendar because you'd get a gig offer and I'm like, oh, I can't make that. I'm going seeing the Cribs at the Apollo, and as much as I love the Cribs, I know that I'm in this stage of my career where I need to be available a lot of the times. There's certain things that I'll block my diary out for. My birthday, people in my life's birthday, the England games at the World Cup this year, those are already blocked out my diary because I know that even if there is a gig that night, not many people are turning up and it's not going to be a mega gig. I want to be home, I want to be watching the England games. Eid, they're both blocked out the diary already. So these big things are already blocked out. That already dictates like maybe 10 or so dates in the year that I can't do comedy. So I don't really need to be adding in extra ones where I'm like, oh, I'm going to see such and such a band. I mean, obviously I do other things still, and I go to, whether it's football or whatever, but I just don't book it as far in advance, and I like to, do it as it comes. If I've got availability and my mate goes, hey, do you fancy doing this tomorrow? I'll go, yeah, go on, I've got no gigs in the diary, I'll go and do it. But I used to love going to gigs and stuff like that. But over the last few years, haven't been keeping up with new music. I do a list at the end of every year, my top 10 movies and my top 10 songs of every single year. And I thought it was a way for me to like look back at every year and see how my music taste changes as well. And I've done it for maybe about 6, 7 years, been doing this. And over the last 2, 3 years, it's become really hard to even list 10 songs that I like from the year because I just don't really keep up with bands anymore. I know the Cribs have released an album last month and I've listened to that a few times. That's really good. I've been really enjoying that actually. But besides that, I don't know anything else that's been released this year. And like I say, we're 1/12 through the year already. And I'm like, ooh, I'm getting into this as well. Yeah, movies, that's another big one. I studied film and television at uni and college, so it's something that I've obviously got a love for, I've got a passion for. That's one of the easier ones to keep up with, because what I do is at the end of the year, I just look at all the stuff that's been hot through the year that I never got to see, and then I'll just catch up on everything at the end of the year, and I'll watch like maybe 10, 15 films in the last like 15 days a year. I'm watching like 2 or 3 a day when I've got the free time, and then obviously when you've got your weekends, I can just watch 2 or 3 during the day, then I can go out gigging or whatever, and then the nights where I'm not gigging, I can get 1, maybe 2 in, and I like to just cram in as many as possible then. I also like through the year, if like Netflix drop one that looks good or Amazon drops one that looks good, I'll watch that, obviously. Me and my childhood mates will often go to a movie, so like the last few years we've been to the new Scream film, which the new Scream comes out in a few weeks. I'll be going to that hopefully with some of them. Final Destination came out last year, we went to watch that. So keeping up with films is a little bit easier. But yeah, I feel like music really is the key to like staying young and feeling young. And once you kind of lose that connectivity with music, I feel like you get old. I feel like you lose touch a little bit. Does that make sense? I don't know if any of you feel like that. Yeah. When I feel like I'm getting more irritable as well. Now I'm getting older. I feel like I'm definitely getting more irritable. 100%. Like, what's one thing that winds me up now? When people say specifically, or I specifically would have done this. No. It's specifically. I know it's such a minor thing, but I'm just like, surely you should know what the actual word is that you're saying. You shouldn't just be guessing a word and then trying to come up with it. You should know the actual thing, and I don't know why, it just winds me up. It really winds me up, yeah. Maybe I should try and make a joke out of that. I've got this joke, right, and I tried it a few times, and I don't really want to really discuss it too much on here. But basically, in essence, it is about how it's about cousin marriages. I'll just say that. It's about cousin marriages, and I want to work on it tomorrow at this gig. And I need to kind of toss it around my brain a little bit first to be like, what I know what the angle is, but what's the actual joke? What's the punchline? Where's it going? The idea's funny, but I don't know where I'm going. And I like one thing in stand-up where banking ideas, basically, where I'm like, okay, I've got an idea here, but I just can't make it work. I can't figure out the angle. You throw it around your head a little bit, and sometimes you stumble upon the joke and you end up going on stage and doing it, and it absolutely works. And then sometimes it just sits there forever and nothing happens with it. But because I want comedy to be my career for the next 40 years, I want it to like just keep bouncing around my head. And who knows, maybe in 15 years' time, I pull it out and it ends up being like a 10-minute bit. And it ends up on Netflix or one of these streamers, which that seems like it should be the goal, right? A lot of people always say like, oh, you're not on Netflix yet, Adam. You're not made it yet, Adam. I had a guy ask me that, and he's working in an office job that he hates. He hates his office job, right? And he's asking me, he goes, oh, you're not made it yet? I'm like, bro, you hate your job. You hate your job. Why are you asking me if I've made it? When you're stuck in a life that you don't even like, you hate where you are right now. Don't focus on whether I've made it yet or not. I'm trying hard. Hopefully I will do. But, you know, focus a little bit on yourself, please. Let's work on something together and like try and help you out a little bit, rather than try and like put down what I'm trying to do. It's one of the weird things like about when you try and make it in an industry like stand-up, because people from the outside, they don't really know. They just expect you to like, what, you've been doing it 7 years and it's like you're not making millions of pounds yet. What's the point? Well, the point is that hopefully this is the thing that brings me a good enough income to support my family for the rest of my life. And that's always been the goal, to be honest with you. The goal since my first gig, before my first gig, the goal was to just try stand up. After my first gig, the goal has been try and make as much money as you can. And as I've gone through it, I've been like, right, the goal should be able to support a family. And I mean a full family, wife, kids, myself, a house, cars, whatever, all the bills, through telling people jokes. And I think it's such a beautiful thing to aim for in life, because there's so many people that I know, and whether I grew up with them or was around them, who focused solely on money from the standpoint of they just want to make as much money as quickly as possible. And there's a very quick way to do that when you live on a council estate, and we all know what that way is, but that way is not necessarily legal, and it leads to a lot of troubles. And they make a lot more money. They've probably made more money than me, and they've been inside for years, but that life doesn't last, and it comes with its dangers. And like, yeah, it's tough. I bet if I would have been doing that on the side, they'd all be looking up to me going, wow, Adam does this on the side. You know, Adam does this. I bet he can get you a deal. Whereas when you do comedy, sometimes it can get a little bit like, they look down on you a little bit, which is weird, because I always admire when people, when people are doing stuff and you look at them and they're trying something, and whatever it is, whether it's they start a cake business or a nail salon or whatever the story is, and they're trying something for themselves, and they're trying to create a life for themselves based on a skill set that they have, whether it is baking or painting nails or whatever. I'm always very supportive of those people, and I always have been supportive. I've never been the kind of person to look down on someone for trying to achieve something in their life that isn't what they're already doing. So, whatever it is, like if you've got an idea out there and you want to make something of yourself, do it, get into it, whatever it is. Do you want to write? I remember a mate of mine from college, Ben, he wanted to write a movie. He wanted to write gangster movies and screenplays. And he would send me scripts all the time, like, Adam, can you read this for me? And I'll be honest with you, I can't read. I cannot read, me. Like, I can read, don't get me wrong, I can read, but you don't give me like 150 pages or something and go and read this time what you think of it. Like, I'll be reading that for the next 2 years, mate. I won't get through it. I won't get halfway through it. And even when I'm reading it, like, my mind will be clocking out. I'll be reading the words on the page, but nothing will be happening in my brain. I'll literally just be reading for the sake of reading, but I won't be taking any of it in. I'm the worst person for that. So, which then puts me on a weird aspect, because I'm on the other side of that coin now, where I'm considering what I want to do in the future. Because I want stand-up to be my main job, but I also understand that if you want to be a full-time stand-up, it can be a very difficult life because you're going to be on the road all the time. And like I mentioned before, I want to have a wife and I want to have a kids and I want to be there for them and supporting them. And as much as it's great travelling to the other side of the country for 250 quid and doing like 2 gigs in a weekend and coming back and you made a week's worth of work for a regular person with 40 minutes on stage, like they're paying you for all that time away from your kids. And you know, there's comedians out there, and I probably shouldn't say their names, but there's comedians out there who I consider friends who've been pro comics for years, who've quit and gone the other way and gone, do you know what? I've got a kid now and I want to be on the other side of that. And if I want to say it's funny, I'll say Steve. So his name's Steve, and he's quit and he's gone to do a trade, and he's gone because he's gone, do you know what? I want to be near home. I've got my kid here. He's an amazing comic. He's such a brilliant, genuinely he's such a brilliant comic. And I fully respect his decision to be like, no, I want to be home and near my kids, so I'll take the work where I can, but I'll have a full-time day job as well, and I really respect that. But I'm on the other side of that coin where I'm looking, going, I'd love to do this full-time, and I'm going, okay, what else do I need to do? So I don't have to rely on. I can still be a stand-up and do it as much as I can possibly do it, but I don't have to rely on it. So if I am offered gigs and it's the other side of the country, don't have to go and be away from my family, and these are the things that I'm thinking about now. That I'll be honest, I wasn't thinking about that when I started stand-up at 29. It wasn't in my mind. Whereas now, late 30s, that stuff's on my mind. So I'm thinking of like, do I write a script? Do I write a TV show? Do I write a film? I've got a few ideas in the works. And do I focus on them? Do I try it loads, and do I do this? Now, again, luckily I've got a friend who's worked in television for years, so it's hard meeting up, because you know what it's like, we message each other going, oh, you're free such and such a time, no, I'm not free, or I'm here, I'm there. I really want to meet up with him and go over these ideas, and I know that he's really open to it as well, so I really just need to kind of get it done, get it out of the way, but like just make the plan, boom, let's get it done, let's make these plans, mate. So I need to do that and discuss these ideas with him. I've also got some other industry stuff like due to happen. Have phone calls with people about some other stuff which should be really, really promising in terms of stand-up, but again, I'm looking at the exterior stuff around it, what I'd like to do. Another big thing that I'd like to do that has just been announced is the cast for SNL UK. So Saturday Night Live is a massive institution in the American comedy scene, and they're launching a British version of it, and I'd love to be on it, and I have no idea how to apply. I have no idea what the process is. However, they've just announced the first listings, and I think I know one of the people. I've met one of the people off the thing. I only know who one of them is. Paddy Young. And Paddy, you know what? He's so funny as well. So, like, I'm looking at... Because if you see something and you see someone on there who ain't funny, you're looking at it going, oh my God, why can't that be me? I'm looking at it going, yeah, he's brilliant. Like, he deserves to be on it. I wouldn't go, I deserve to be on it over him. But at the same time, I'm like, I'd love to be on this. It's something that has a goal in the future. I love an opportunity at something like this. So that's something that I'd like to do as well. It is a goal that I've got that not a lot of people in stand-up will have this goal. I want to be in Star Wars. Now, I'm not a Star Wars massive fan. Like, I don't get me wrong, I like Star Wars. I've seen all the films. I've seen a lot of the TV shows. I want an action figure. Like, simple. Like, I grew up a massive wrestling fan, right? And look, just completely by coincidence, I've got this next to me right now. And it's, see this? It's a Mick Foley, Mankind, classic superstars wrestling figure. Look at that. That's an absolute beauty, that, isn't it? And I'll be honest, I didn't buy this for this. It was in a lot of something. Basically, I'm into wrestling cards. Long story short, I'm getting off on tangents, but hey, let's do it. That's what the podcast's about, right? I'm a fan of wrestling cards, and I've got a collection of wrestling cards of WWE champions. That's what I like to do. I like to collect those. And Mankind is a former WWF heavyweight champion. So one of his trading cards was on like $5 more than the like what I would consider being the basement price, and it had a few of his other cards in it, and it had this figure in there, and I looked at this figure and I was like, that figure would be worth like at least 20 quid. I thought, well, I'll get the whole bundle, I'll just sell this figure on like Facebook Marketplace or something, get me 20 quid back, and then move from, and then just, that's good. So I've got it, I've left it here on the table, and that's why I've got this here. back to the Star Wars thing. So, although I'm not a massive Star Wars fan, I am a fan, but I'm not like a hardcore, I don't know all the stuff about it. I would love to have an action figure. Now, Bill Burr was in The Mandalorian, I think it was, and he got an action figure. Now, looked at it and I thought, you know what, that's so cool. I would love to have my own action figure. So since then, it's been in the back of my mind that that's like a stretch goal for me, that one day to be somewhere in the Star Wars world to the point where they make a figure of me. And oh my, that would be, genuinely, that's a bucket list item. People talk about bucket list items and they talk about things that are like not really mega bucket list. Like they'll talk about something that is attainable and is very attainable with hard work and just a few little connections and the right words in the right ears, they can do it. This is the kind of thing where, being on Star Wars, I've got no idea where to start, and I think that is a nice lofty goal for me to be like, right, one day hopefully I'd love to be on Star Wars. I'd love to be a big enough character where I get my own action figure. That's just gonna be beautiful. If I can achieve that, I'd buy a load of them. Like one of my best mates, Rick, he loves Star Wars. He's big into his figures as well, like I was as a kid. I mean, I still like my figures, don't get me wrong. Just don't get to play with them. I remember I talked about this the other day. I'd love to play with things. Anyway, I would love to get one of them, sign it for him, give him that, and like that, as it be able to gift that to one of my friends who loves Star Wars figures. I'd love to be able to do that, and him to be able to be like, wow, one of my best mates who I've known since I was like 5 years old is now in Star Wars, and he's now got his own figure, and he signed it for me, and it's on me. Well, I'd love to be able to do that for him, but just mainly for my own ego, that I want to be on Star Wars and I want to be in it. But I would also do nice things for other people, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not a complete egomaniac. I would also try and do nice things for other people. Is that me gaslighting? I don't know. That sounds like a gaslighting thing to say. Like, no. I don't want it for me. I want it for Rick. No. I want it for me. I'm telling you now, I want it for me. But at the same time, I would then be able to do nice things for Rick. But yeah, I'd love to do that. TV shows as well. I'd love to write a TV show. I think it's a big thing. Like for me, my favourite show of all time is Shameless. I would love to be able to write my own version of a Shameless show. I just don't know where I would really start with it. Like I say, I've got a few ideas for TV shows of my own, but nothing like Shameless. But the reason why I would love to write something like that is because they say, write what you want to watch, and I would love to see another show like Shameless. And obviously they've got Brassic, which funnily enough, Kieran, who I mentioned at the start of the video, he was in this current season of Brassic, or the last series of Brassic. Don't know if it's finished this current season or not. He was in that. He played young Barry. And I need to watch up. I need to catch up. And I do like Brassic, but I've not watched it all. But Shameless went out. Like I love that show so much. I'm thinking of going back again and watching it for God knows how many times I've watched it all the way through, especially before it had finished, when it was on about season 5. Those first 5 seasons, having them on DVD, blasting through them, watching them all the way through. I've still got all the DVDs sat upstairs in my room. I think the only one I don't have is maybe the last season. But I remember an old manager of mine where I used to work. She was friends with Veronica from next door. Kevin, Veronica, do anything for you. Do anything. And I remember thinking, like, I'd love to get my DVDs signed by her, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to pressure and be like, oh, can you get your mates to sign these? Can you get Maxine? Can you get Maxine to sign these, Maxine P? I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to put that pressure on her, but that was one of the things I was like, oh, I'd love to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to do that. Another thing about my life, someone that I know had a run-in with Peter Kay recently where they bumped into him. And I remember thinking, and it's someone from outside of comedy that I know, I remember thinking like, oh, mate, like, I wish I would have been with you, because Peter Kay, I always refer to him as Uncle Peter. My brother went to school with him. I've always known of him from before he was famous. Then I didn't even realise it was him until after he was famous, and after he'd been famous for about 3 or 4 years, that's when my brother was like, oh yeah, that's Peter, you know, the one who we bumped into at the cinema that time. I'm like, that Peter is this? Oh my goodness me, because I was a little kid at the time. Anyway, they bumped into Peter Kay, and I was like, oh mate, I wish I was with you. that for me, like, don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm going to bump into him. It's like, hey, come on with me, mate, under my wing and forever and ever and ever. But just the opportunity to be able to chat with him and to say, listen, Peter, don't know if you remember my brother, you went to school together, you were friends back then, he doesn't live in the country anymore, that's probably why you've not even bumped into him for God knows how many years. That's where he is now. Me, myself, I'm a stand-up comedian from Bolton. I'd love to just chat with you. I love that, honestly, I would love that so much. To be able to just pick his brain. He's someone that, like, I really do revere, not just because he's the most successful British comedian of all time, but because, essentially, he is just my mate's brother Pete from school. And, like, yeah, the fact that he's achieved what he's achieved. And again, it goes back to that thing before. I don't look at other people and go, oh, why have they got this success? Why has Peter got this success? It should be me. I should have got this. No, I need to get out there myself and forge my own opportunities. But if you can get in front of somebody like that and have a conversation with them, maybe just spark something in my brain. Maybe just gives you one little tip that you run on with and go, do you know what? Boom, thank you very much. Which that's happened to me in the past. I remember having a gig at the Bury Met, which is a theatre in Bury, which is down the road. And there was a comedian on the lineup, and I said, oh, listen, is there anything about my set that sticks out to you that you can give me some advice? He gave me some brilliant advice, and I was like, wow. And I used that advice as much as I possibly could when I started. And now when I'm on stage, I use that advice a lot. I've been able to put it into execution now for a longer time with a wider time span and more stage time. And so, yeah, if I could, getting in front of someone like that, especially like I've got ideas that I want to make my own TV shows. Pete, like, let's be honest, Peter's the kind of person that if he came up with a TV show tomorrow, someone would make it, help him make it. Netflix, BBC, ITV, whoever would go, yeah, we'll help you make this. He did Car Share, brilliant. Phoenix Nights, brilliant. Max and Paddy's Road to Nowhere, which I absolutely loved. Max and Paddy's Road to Nowhere. Get back, you bees! I'll break your legs. Remember that? Like, me and my mates from college, we used to just like quote that all the time. We were in our first year of college when that came out. And we used to just quote that. Raymond from prison, we all know Raymond. Get that cooker on. We all know these scenes, yeah. People have been like rehashing them over TikTok recently and stuff like that. So people would, and I think he mentioned that like potentially doing a Phoenix Nights film. I'd love to be in a Phoenix Nights film. I would love that. Oh, even a little cameo. Yeah, that would be like a proper goal to like be in that kind of thing. But hey ho, I wasn't there with him. It is what it is. Maybe the only time I'll ever meet him is when I bumped into him. Well, actually I met him a couple of times, but that main time was when I bumped into him as a kid. Every time I met him is since before I've been in comedy. So yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating being there's someone who I know been so close and had that interaction with Peter Kay, and I was like, I'd love to have that interaction with him. Because imagine you're in an industry and someone who's like mega in your industry lives in your town and you've got like a family connection to them, but you just never see them, never bump into them, can't just give them a call, don't have the number. You can't just knock on his door and say, hiya Pete, it's me. He'd be like, what are you doing in my house? Get away, I phone police. And, I'd do that if you're some kid who I don't know, someone like, my brother went to school with you. I'd be like, no, I don't. I knew your brother a little bit. We weren't best mates. We were best mates, we'd still be chatting now. So, yeah, he'd just be saying that, wouldn't he? It is what it is, though, isn't it? It is what it is. But yeah. It was exciting when I heard that. I thought, oof, I'd love to bump into myself. But, it is. Yeah. I'm rambling a lot in this podcast. I think I'm rambling a lot, but yeah, can't wait to get back gigging tomorrow. I'm hoping to start filling more and more gigs in my diary. One dropped in today for Rochdale in April. I need to start packing more and more into my diary. I'm considering going to Edinburgh this year, really debuting at the Fringe and putting a proper debut show on. Considering doing that. Debuting at the Fringe can be like a really big thing if the right people come and see you. Right, people come and review you. That's kind of linked to the phone call I'm going to be having hopefully next week. Start to put a few puzzle pieces into place maybe. But again, I don't really know for sure until I have that conversation. I'm in an iron about it. I've got to be vague with it right now because nothing's in stone. But I'll have more to tell you about it in coming weeks. definitely. Whether it happens or not, I'll tell you more about it. We'll say that much. Otherwise, what's there to look forward to coming up? Cricket World Cup starts next week. Is it this weekend? I think it's this weekend, you know, that it starts. Oh, Pakistan are refusing to play against India. That's bad dramas. Oh, this happened to me today. And I made a joke about it online, and I lied about it online because it's funny about lying about it. But I'll just be honest with you now. I was walking to get myself a coffee in the morning, and I saw it was a mother and a daughter, and the mother was in her 20s and the daughter was in her 40s. And I saw them both check me out, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. I'm in this weird pocket here where, like, yeah, I guess women in their 40s and women in their 20s might be interested. Now, don't get me wrong, it weren't Pamela Anderson and, you know, Megan Fox walking down the street. It's just two regular women. But and they might have just been looking at me going, who's this ugly beardy boy? But I saw them look at me and, like, give me the eye, that kind of thing. And I thought, that's interesting, that being in that, like I say, in that. Not that I'm on the market and I'm not shopping for that kind of thing, but it was good to be like, that's a good bit of knowledge, that maybe I can make a joke about this on stage. Isn't it weird that as a comedian you experience something and you go, oh, I wonder if I can make a joke about that. I wonder if I can make somebody laugh recounting this experience into the stage with a microphone in my hand. We're odd folks, us comedians, aren't we? We are odd folks. People say that, like, we're all desperate for attention, but it's weird because I don't feel like desperate for attention, because I don't do stand up because I like talking in front of people. I do it because maybe I do it like that, and maybe I'm lying to myself. I don't know. In my mind, I do stand up because I see it as a way to spread goodwill. I see it as a way to hopefully feed my future family, and I see it as a way for me to have an enjoyable life. Like that. Those are the reasons why I'm in stand-up. But maybe I'm lying to myself. Maybe I do like the attention from people. But then again, I'll be honest, I'm awkward when people give me compliments. After I got off stage in Birchwood, and there was like three or four people saying nice things to me after I got off stage. We'll just put it like that. And I just give them all like one-word answers because I wanted them to stop. I wanted them to stop saying nice things about me as quickly as possible. But then again, if you were to write in the comment section nice things, I bet I'd really like that. But yeah, no, honestly, like when people say, like, compliment me in person, I do just like fob it off, and I find it hard making eye contact with them and like really looking them in the eyes when they're saying nice things about me, because I feel a bit embarrassed by it. Yeah, I feel a bit embarrassed by doing well and having people trying to say nice things to me. Maybe I feel like I don't deserve it, or maybe I just feel like I'm just doing my job and I'm not where I want to be yet. I think that'd be how I at least describe it to myself, is because I'm not where I want to be yet, which is headlining arenas. I'd love to do Wembley Stadium in the future. Wembley Stadium, I don't know anyone who's ever done a stand-up solo show at Wembley Stadium. I would love to be the first act to ever do that and break new ground. That is a goal. And again, that's another big goal of mine. When I look at the big goals in my life, is I want to play Wembley Stadium. I want to be in a Star Wars film, a character big enough that I have an action figure. These are like the big goals that I've got in stand-up. There's goals along the way that I'd love to do. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I'd love to play the Comedy Store in London. I'd love to do weekends at the Comedy Store in London, because it's one of the clubs that's kind of looked at across the UK as, if you're doing that, that's a signal of your ability. Because if you're doing that, you pass to a certain level where you're good enough to kind of play any gig. That's how I view it, and that's how I think a lot of comedians view it, to be completely honest with you. So that's like more of a medium-term goal that I'd love to be able to do. Some of my friends do that. Shout out to Tabish Akbar. He does weekends at the Comedy Store. And the way he got to that was he used to live in London. So I think he would have been doing the gong shows at first, which is then gets you onto, I think, Thursdays. And if you do well enough on the Thursdays, you get maybe 5 minutes on a Friday, then 10, then 20. So, like, he was able to build his way up to that. Whereas I feel in a bit of a stuck position where if I was to go and do the gong in London, I would need at least 1 day off work, if not 2. in my day job, and I don't have that much time off to take. And then, around family responsibilities and Eid and stuff like that, all the times that I do end up taking off. So I can't afford in that sense to go and do it. And then even if I get the time off, you'd be spending let's say 150 on the train down there. You might even need a hotel to stay at. So let's just call it 50 quid if you get a really budget one. You're £200 in for what is essentially a raffle ticket of going up there and trying to win this show. And if you don't win it, because the audience there as well at the Gong Show, they are ruthless. They're not just there to be entertained. They can be really horrible to people. So the stories of like a Scottish comedian going all the way to London for the King Gong. He gets on stage and he's like, "Hiya everyone, I've just travelled down from Edinburgh," and up from Edinburgh, and immediately, boom, they kick him off stage, which the audience have the ability to do that. If they put their cards up, you're off. If all the I think it's 3 cards at the Comedy Store in London, I think if all 3 of them go up, you're off. And he just travelled all the way down there. He just said he's come from Scotland, which would have been over 150 quid probably. I mean, it might have booked it in advance, obviously a bit cheaper, but he'd done that. They'd kicked him off the stage. Don't know if this, it might be a woman actually. I'm just imagining a guy in my head. I just don't think they'd be that cruel to a woman. At least I'd hope they'd not be that cruel to anyone going forward. But that's what they did. And that's what could happen. Maybe I get on stage and, they go, who's this northerner? Or who's this Pakistani Muslim guy with a beard and he's Polish with a skin colour and all of that? What's he doing in London? Let's get him off stage. I don't know. And, so I guess though, on the flip side of that, if I'm the Comedy Store and if I'm booking the Comedy Store, I'm thinking, right, okay, I want the grafters in this business. I want the people who are gambling, who are going, do you know what? Yeah, here's 2 days off work. Here's 200 quid spent for the potential of doing 5 minutes on our glorious stage. We owe you nothing. You want business from us. You want to come and work for us. You come up here and you graft on this stage. And maybe that's what it's got to be. Maybe that I've got to go, do you know what? I'm just going to take that gamble and I've got to go and do it. But it's very, like I say, I'm in that difficult position. I'm also in that position where, because I'm like on pro lineups a lot, opening, closing different shows and stuff like that, I'd have to probably book out those nights where I can't gig and go down to London and do that. Then is the perception of you different because you go in doing these Gong shows? I don't know. I remember discussing this with a pro actor. I'll say it was Hayley Ellis. Hayley Ellis, awesome comedian, first of all. Awesome comedian. That's the first thing I should say about her. Awesome comedian. On top of that, lovely person as well. And I just asked her one day, and it was in a moment of vulnerability. I just asked. I said, listen, what do you think I should do in terms of progression? Because I want to progress forward. I want. Obviously, everyone wants to be in a stronger position as possible, but I feel like with my current level of ability, I could be a little bit further forward than where I am. And I asked her this whenever it was, and I basically said that should I be doing these kind of competitions? And essentially she was like, well, you're doing pro gigs for really reputable promoters. I think we just done a weekend of gigs for Manford's Comedy Club. So the perception of you shouldn't be doing competitions, if that makes sense. I can't remember if that's specifically what she said directly, but essentially she kind of put my mind at ease of being like, don't worry, know that you're in at least this certain position. You don't need to climb these rungs back down the ladder and try and do this. There will be ways for you forward. Now, I don't know if that relates to the Comedy Store in London. I don't know if it works like that. If there is any way that I could just skip ahead of the Gong process, I don't know. And it is a thing that it gives me a little bit of internal strife and anxiety, because it is somewhere that I genuinely do want to work. And again, maybe it's my ego thinking that this is the place to be. I really want to be there. I want the recognition of someone to say, Adam, you're good. You've been here. You're good. Maybe it's just that, but it is a place that I would really like to do. Maybe I'm being a bit too honest here. Maybe I'm being a bit too open. I don't know. But I guess this is what the podcast is for me to talk to you guys and just be honest about the situation. Maybe other people look at it and you know, look down on me and go, oh, maybe he's not as good as I thought he was if he's not getting these kind of gigs and da 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 da. Well, listen, try and be as open and as honest. And I feel like the best way to climb the ladder is like kind of clarity up there. And the more kind of clarity I have going up, and I can see clearly, oh, okay, I can maybe get up a rung here and an upper rung there. But I think trying to lie to people and being like, oh, I'm amazing, and like, oh yeah, closing the Comedy Store every weekend, and there's no point in, you know, putting lies into people and stuff like that. I know the level that I am at the moment, getting paid stuff from reputable weekend promoters, but again, a lot of that is middles and stuff like that with the really big promoters. When they're giving me this weekend work and when the clubs are booking me, it is in middles and stuff like that. It's not the high paying headliner slots, it's nothing like that. And again, that's where I want to be, and I know it's a long process too there, and I don't really look at it and go, I should be a headliner, but I do look at it and go, I'd love to be in there more and more with them, get more dates in with them, try and prove myself and with the clubs and stuff like that. I don't know, to be honest, I'm kind of cringing a little bit inside just talking about this stuff, but either way, yeah. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I think we're going to end it there. We're about an hour's into the pod, so yeah, that's good, that's nice. Yeah, I'll be back soon. If you've enjoyed it, do all the good stuff, tell people and all that stuff. The more people see it, I just had a thought of people sending it in WhatsApp groups going, Adam's losing his mind there. He's an absolute idiot. Check this out. He's an absolute nightmare. I don't know. Either way, thank you very much. I'm going to go get a pizza and chips. Bye-bye.